Happy Fitness Friday, everybody!
Happy Fitness Friday! We are excited to be here again on another beautiful Friday to talk about resistance training and earning tons of MEPs, Myzone effort points with resistance training.
That is exactly what we're talking about this morning. I am Dr. Ayla Donlin.
And I'm Emily Sopo.
And we are your Myzone Master Trainers. We both hold both group fitness certifications and personal training certifications. I hold my doctoral degree in educational leadership and my master's degree in sport and exercise psychology, kinesiology. Emily holds her master's degree in exercise science, kinesiology. And we're very excited to bring you content every Friday. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Melissa. Thank you guys for being here. Shall we hop into it? We'll wait for a few more people to get on, and really actually before we start we should tell you that if you are an exerciser, if you have friends who exercise, this broadcast is for you. We want you to share it out, and you can actually share the content just by typing someone's name into the comment section below this video, and then everything is housed on the Myzone Moves YouTube channel afterwards.
That is exactly it. There is a blog about this very topic as well, so it's titled Earning MEPs with Resistance Training. So you can check out the blog on myzone.org as well.
Yes.
And if you wanted, you could even, I think, follow along with this baby.
Yes.
So let's get into the content.
Okay.
What we're going to be unpacking this morning for you will be strategies in how you can maximize the number of Myzone effort points, MEPs, that you're earning when you're doing resistance training. And we're going to ask for a little bit of interaction this morning. So I want you to leave some comments because I'm going to be asking some questions. So Emily, I'm going to ask you this question.
Okay.
What mode of exercise do you typically prefer, cardio or resistance training?
Resistance training.
Okay, how about you folks out there? What mode of exercise do you typically prefer, cardio or resistance training? Emily said resistance training. And for me, it's like a tie. It's essentially a mixture of both. I really like both cardio and resistance training.
Yeah.
If you've been monitoring cardio, Melissa, cool. If you've been monitoring your workouts on your activity calendar via your Myzone app, you can probably see whether you have a tendency to do more cardio or more resistance training. And you can see of those two modes, which one are you earning more MEPs during? Was she trying to make a cameo in our little video this morning?
Bonnie, resistance training. Yep, I'm with you, girl.
So check that out in your activity calendar, especially if you're labeling your workouts. You'll be able to tell which modality, cardio versus resistance training, are you earning more Myzone effort points during.
Yeah.
Typically, you're probably earning more MEPs during your cardio, depending on what type of resistance training you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to get into today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have talked about this in the past. If you're maybe not quite sure of why we would say that you'd earn more Myzone effort points during cardio, we have a couple of posts that we've done in the past. Okay, we're back. I'll be sure to hop on this broadcast afterwards and comment in the comment section below the video on Facebook with those old broadcasts, so you can see like what factors affect resistance training and our heart rate during resistance training and all that good stuff.
Yes. And we'll also be talking about that a little bit this morning too, so stay tuned. Good morning, Mom, and good morning, Sylvia, I saw, and good morning, Sarah. Sarah likes cardio.
Charity likes HIIT.
High intensity interval training. We just talked about that last week.
Yep.
How to organize that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to start with some definitions of cardiorespiratory fitness and then muscular fitness broken into muscular endurance and muscular strength. And then we're going to even get into some of the finer details of all of those. So cardiorespiratory training, I'm going to give you the textbook definition.
Okay.
Cardiorespiratory endurance is the ability to perform prolonged, large muscle, dynamic exercise at moderate to high levels of intensity. So in terms of Myzone zones, that would be the ability to perform prolonged, as in 10 minutes or more, large muscle, so we're talking major muscle large muscle, dynamic, meaning we're moving in multiple planes of motion, at moderate, which would be the blue and the green zone, to high levels of intensity, the yellow and the red zone, of course. So examples of cardiorespiratory endurance: walking, running, cycling, rowing. All of those would be cardiorespiratory endurance activities. Dancing.
Lots of options there. Okay, muscular endurance. Muscular endurance is the ability of a muscle to either hold a contraction or to contract repeatedly over a certain duration of time. So we can think about this either as dynamic movement or as isometric exercises such as a plank. If you think about it, muscular endurance is really important because there are activities that we do a lot during our day, such as walking, our heart beating. There's lots of our body staying upright and our core muscles staying stable.
Posture,
Lots of reasons why we need muscular endurance. Next up, muscular strength. This is the amount of force that a muscle can produce with one single maximal effort. So in order to train for muscular strength, we need to use loads that really challenge our current force production capabilities. So we're lifting heavy, probably only for a couple of reps.
Right on. Good morning, Enrique. Enrique says, I'll be so excited when you link up with MyFitnessPal. Well, that's something to consider, Enrique, and right now on the Myzone app, you can be taking pictures of things like food and logging all that, and there's also a section in the Myzone app where you can be tracking all of your body metrics as well. So a lot of features that you probably like on MyFitnessPal you can find on the Myzone app. So, soft tangent there.
Okay.
Wanted to get back to Enrique.
Moving on, training for muscular and fitness versus cardiorespiratory endurance.
Exactly. So how do we differentiate when we're doing cardiorespiratory training versus when we're doing resistance training? And you know what? The lines sometimes blur, my friends. So when we train for cardiorespiratory endurance, the training factors that we typically emphasize are intensity, which would be measured in percentage of maximal heart rate, or in our Myzone zones, same thing, right? Or by rate of perceived exertion. So we're looking at intensity and we're looking at duration, either the total duration of the session or duration of our interval. So I think someone just commented earlier that they liked high intensity interval training. So we can think about intensity and duration. Those are going to be the training factors that we emphasize during cardiorespiratory training. When we're training for muscular fitness, then we're going to emphasize training factors like load, the amount of weight that we're moving, repetitions, right, the number of repetitions that we're doing, sets, so how many sets of the number of repetitions are we doing, and rest periods in between sets. So we're gonna dissect a little bit the different training factors for 3 different types of muscular fitness. So Emily defined muscular endurance and muscular strength. We're also going to talk about muscular hypertrophy, which is a muscular characteristic of muscle growth. So we're going to unpack the different characteristics for each. I'll start with muscular endurance. When we're training for muscular endurance, you heard Emily's definition, either holding an isometric contraction or performing repeated contractions over time. We would work from 15 to 25 repetitions when we're trying to train muscular endurance, or we might hold an isometric contraction for 30 to 60, maybe even up to 2 to 4 minutes if we're doing like a plank or a wall squat or something like that. So in terms of repetitions, if we're performing repeated contractions over time, aim for 15 to 25, and you're going to do 2 to 3 sets of that. And by the time you're getting at the end range of your repetitions, you should be feeling pretty fatigued. So if you're aiming for 25, 23, 24, 25 should feel pretty fatiguing at that point. And the rest period in between your sets, if you're doing 2 to 3 sets, would be only 30 seconds. So you're probably picking up at this point that means your heart rate's probably going to elevate, and it's probably going to stay elevated for a while, which is starting to sound similar to cardiorespiratory endurance. Interesting.
Fancy that. Okay, the next muscular characteristic is muscular hypertrophy. As Ayla said, that is muscle growth or muscle size. Big muscles, right? That's when we have that increase in our muscle size that many folks want. Repetitions, we would perform 8 to 12 repetitions, and you should barely, again, be able to do and perform those final couple of reps. So like 10, 11, 12. That should be really tough.
Yes.
We would want to perform 3 to 6 sets and have a rest period between sets of about 30 to 90 seconds. Muscular characteristic of muscular strength is the last one we'll discuss. Again, we talked about how that's the maximal load that you can produce force against over one repetition. Now, when we train, oftentimes we're actually performing 1 to 6 repetitions for 2 to 6 sets, and we're resting for a good amount of time, between 2 to 5 minutes between sets.
Yes.
Yeah, so you would see, boom, a big spike in your heart rate, and then 2 to 5 minutes of lower heart rate.
Yes, especially if you're a very fit individual. your heart rate's probably going to recover pretty quickly and stay pretty low during the rest period. And there's all kinds of physiological reasons why we need that extended rest period for muscular strength training. So that would be another topic for another Fitness Friday of why the rest period. We're going to reconnect.
There we go.
Before we get into looking at cardiorespiratory training versus muscular fitness training, I want to know, what kind of muscular fitness training do you guys typically do? Do you do muscular endurance? Do you do muscular strength? Do you do hypertrophy training? How are you organizing that? So leave a few comments for us as we're going through the rest of this broadcast. All right, so the intensity of resistance training, especially during hypertrophy and strength training, is best measured looking at load, the weight, and the repetition speed. That's how we can best measure intensity of resistance training. Whereas when we're doing cardiorespiratory training, as we mentioned, heart rate or rate of perceived exertion are the best ways to measure intensity. So heart rate's probably not the best measure of intensity with strength or hypertrophy training in terms of resistance training, because as Emily just mentioned, your heart rate's going to elevate rapidly during your repetitions of a single set, and then it's going to recover quickly and stay lower for an extended period of time. So on average, your profile in terms of a color might only be blue, but you might feel like you had an incredibly intense resistance training session because you're working strength or hypertrophy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we can though use heart rate as a measure of intensity for muscular endurance training, especially when we're designing circuits or supersets that are going to elevate our heart rate for prolonged periods. And you'll remember that that's part of the definition of cardiorespiratory endurance.
Okay, shall we get into
Let's do it.
some ways that you can really earn MEPs using resistance training?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the first way is using supersets, as Ayla just mentioned. This is when you would stack a couple exercises back to back with little to no rest in between each exercise. So that'd be like, let's say a squat and then a chest press back to back, and then after that you would recover. So for that superset time of those two exercises, you would have an elevation in your heart rate.
Yes.
And you can really do this in a variety of ways. You can pair up exercises that work opposing muscle groups. You can work complementary muscle groups, or even the same muscle group.
Right.
You just have to be a little bit careful of fatigue, and I learned my lesson last Sunday when I did supersets with legs, and it was really tough, and I was kind of waddling around through the whole rest of the week.
So yeah, if you're stacking exercises for similar muscle groups, then you got to be really careful about fatigue. But as Emily, the example that Emily gave of a squat and a chest press, that would be a lower extremity, upper extremity superset. So you're probably going into a relatively rested muscle group. So that's a nice way to do it, because you can keep your heart rate up, but be going into a fresher muscle group.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. So that is supersets. That's a way that you can earn all kinds of MEPs with your resistance training. Another method is circuit training, and a lot of us probably do this. So I'm going to give you a way that you can organize your circuits. It would be a series of exercises that you're going to perform in a row with minimal rest in between each exercise, and probably in between each set of the circuit. So you can perform a whole body muscular endurance circuit if you want to, by selecting 6 to 8 exercises for all of the major muscle groups within your body. And you can choose whether you're going to go based on time. So maybe you're going to do each exercise for 30 seconds, or maybe you're going to do each exercise for 25 repetitions. You can choose how you want to organize that. And in the blog that you'll find on myzone.org, there's an example of a full body circuit that you can organize. And we've organized it by time. So you do each exercise for 30 seconds, take a quick 10-second transition in between each exercise, and then at the end of each round, you'd take about a minute break before you go back for round 2 and round 3. So by the end, you're doing 2 to 3 sets of 8 different exercises. Well, this one's 6 different exercises for your whole body. You're gonna earn a lot of MEPs on that one.
Yes. The last way to really bump up that MEP earning during your workout, during your resistance training, is to actually integrate some cardio into it. So maybe you're performing a circuit and you've got 10 exercises, maybe 3 of those are cardio, more traditional cardio in a sense. Maybe you just start sprinting, right? Yeah. One thing I like to do is kind of keep myself on my toes, and if I know I have a little bit of time and I've got enough energy, I'll just like sprint across the fitness floor.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah, add in a little bit of something extra. You can do this for, however you want, however long you want. The recommendation that we provide in the blog is to do about 30 seconds of work and then recover for maybe 30 seconds before you go back into your next set or your next exercise for muscular fitness.
Yeah, and there's more examples of that in the low maintenance cardio and resistance training circuit blog that you'll also find on myzone.org. And that's an integration of muscular endurance and cardio, kind of going back and forth, exactly what Emily was just talking about.
Yeah, keep in mind though that this is for muscular endurance primarily, and of course it's going to depend on the person and their training status and their goals, but if you're performing like muscular strength, let's say, and you're really trying to build up strength, and then you go sprint, and then you try to do muscular strength training, you might not be able to lift the same amount. So we want you to know that to be careful of fatigue on this and really focus primarily on muscular endurance.
Exactly, yes. And that would be for all of these recommendations, for supersets, for circuit training, and for integrating cardio intervals, targeting mostly muscular endurance as your muscular fitness characteristic. Hey, Melissa. Right on. Oh, good. Body shred is probably a great example of a mixture of cardio and resistance training. That's a good way to earn MEPs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for that example. All right, folks. Well, happy MEPing, and give these different strategies a try. Let us know how you like them. And make sure that you're labeling your workouts in your activity calendar so you can know which modalities are earning you the most MEPs and which types you enjoy the most.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us today. You can always check out more about Myzone and the blog posts that we've written at myzone.org. You can also check out Myzone on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of the above.
All kinds of sites. And you can tune into the podcast that Emily and I contribute to, the Myzone Moves podcast, and we'll have a new episode coming out pretty soon.
Yeah,
so we'll keep you posted on that.
Yes. Thank you guys for joining us, and
keep moving forward.
See you next week.
Have a great weekend, everybody.